Okie dokie, let's go ahead and write these three tables. We'll start with reviewers and series, and then we'll create the reviews table that has the series ID and reviewer ID foreign keys. So let's start with reviewers, nice and simple. ID, first name, and last name. So create table reviewers, and we're going to have an ID that will be an integer. It should be a primary key, and we want it to auto increment. And then we have first name, which is, varchar 50 for each name. I think that's probably a safe threshold, 50 characters in your first name. Let's make it required. And then last name, also varchar 50, not null. Okay, so that should be our reviewers table. Next up, let's make the series table. Series, ID, title, release year, genre. So we'll do the same thing with ID. We want a primary key, so ID int primary key and auto underscore increment. And then we want to have the series title, and we'll make that a varchar 100 because titles can be pretty long. And then we have released year, and for this we could do an integer, but I'm going to do something a little fancier we haven't talked about. There is a data type called year, and it will display and hold the value of a year implicitly with a width of 4 characters. So we don't have to do this, but it's an opportunity to show you this data type. So let's say that release year is of type year. And then we have genre, which will also be a varchar, let's say 100, in case there's some long genres. Then we have the reviews table. So reviews has an ID. We'll start there. Create table, put my E there. Create table reviews. And we want an ID. Int primary key auto increment. Probably tired of typing that by now. And then the rating, what data type should the rating be? If a rating is going to look something like this right here, 8.9, 9.5. So probably a decimal, a float, double. I'm going to do a decimal and limit it to be 2 total characters, one of which is after the decimal point. So rating will be a decimal. 2 characters or 2 numbers, 2 digits, one of which can come after the decimal. So we can have like 8.9 or 9.9, but we're not going to have 9.9877, 987 rather. Okay, so that's rating. Then we get the trickier pieces, series ID and reviewer ID. So we know that series ID, we'll start there, is going to be an integer. We also know that reviewer ID will be an integer because they are both going to reference an integer column. Series ID is an int. Reviewer's ID is an int. But then we want to add on the foreign key constraint and say, oh yeah, by the way, MySQL, this series ID is in fact a foreign key, and it references the series table and the ID column in that table. And then after that, we'll do the same thing for reviewer ID. So foreign key, reviewer ID references the reviewers table, the ID column. And then we have the choice whether to add on the on-delete cascade or not, meaning if a series is deleted, should its reviews be deleted? Or if a reviewer deletes their account, do the reviews associated with that account go away? For now, we'll say no, because maybe we want to keep, if somebody deletes their account, we might want to keep their review and we'll just display it with no username associated with it. But that is a choice that we have. All right, so let's try running this, see if I made any syntax errors. It's a good place to start. I'm going to make a new database. I'll call this TVDB. Use TVDB. I'll run my 3 queries that create my tables. And let's do a show tables. Looks good. Reviewers, reviews, and series. And then the final thing I want us to do is all work with the same data, So I'd like for us all to run this code that inserts into series like 15 or 20 different TV shows. And then this code that inserts 10 or so reviewers. And then this code that inserts 100-ish, I think it's less than 100, but a bunch of reviews where we have the series ID, the reviewer ID, and the rating. So it's just giving us a starting point. We're all going to be on the same page. So let's run these 3 queries. The first one looks good. Select star from series. We now have 14 series in there. Then let's run reviewers that we insert. So let's do that. Select star from reviewers. And now we have 7 reviewers. And finally, we create a bunch of reviews that are a series ID, a reviewer ID, and a rating. Okay, let's try. 47. I don't know where I got 100 from. I was, I guess, high out of my mind. Not actually. Select star from reviews. Okay, we have 47 reviews. And when we look at this reviews table on its own, it's pretty meaningless unless you happen to know what series has the ID of 9 and what reviewer has the ID of 5. You're not going to know who left this review and what show it corresponds to, but that's the whole point of this section. We're going to get practice using some joins. But we have the data. That's all that matters. We have a starting point. We have our 3 tables. We have our foreign key constraints. And now all we have left to do is try to do some stuff with these tables. So that's what's coming up next. We're going to work on a series of little challenges together.